Hello, everyone. Welcome to a quick episode of Trek Canon, Bootleg Edition. So, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Temporal Wars. Now, this is a big subject, but I'm going to condense it down to just the key little things. All right. And we're going to focus on Crewman Daniels. There's a lot of, okay. So, here's the thing. The Temporal Wars, the concept of it was brought about during Star Trek, the Enterprise, right? That series. And Crewman Daniels was an agent, a temporal agent, basically. Now, keep that in mind. He was a temporal agent, okay, that fought in the Temporal Wars. What are the Temporal Wars? Basically, the Temporal Wars evolved from the Temporal Cold Wars. Basically, as you know, time travel is pretty standard in Star Trek canon. And basically, in the future, you had the temporal accords that took place, and temporal accords basically said, hey, time travel is forbidden. Y'all, we can't do it. It's going to disrupt time. It is, we can't do it. Anyway, you had this faction that broke off and was like, yeah, we're going to do that anyway, right? And think of the Xindi. All right. So the people who controlled the Xindi, rather, I should say. Anyway, since they did that, all the other factions in the future was like, yo, we finna go and just start eliminating all these other rival factions. Now, Starfleet was one of those factions. Starfleet had the time ships, one of them being the USS Relativity. Now, let's think about that. The USS Relativity is a Starfleet vessel, all right? The Enterprise J is a Starfleet vessel. Starfleet Enterprise J is also capable of time manipulation, right? Come to think of it, most of the vessels in that time period were. Now, that's very important because Starfleet was sending temporal agents to do things. All right. Now, we find out that crewman Daniels was on the Enterprise J. Now, we don't know specifically as he was a crew member, but he brought Archer to the Enterprise J, which means he was part of Starfleet. He infiltrated old Starfleet, right, as a crewman, right? He knew the rules, all that kind of stuff. That's what he did. Now, let's move over to people like Gary Seven, people like ISIS, people like his assistant, right? I forget the Romulan that ended up being part of this group too. But there's another group that ends up happening later. They have absolutely nothing to do with Starfleet or the Federation, and they were called the Aegis Group. All right. Now, the Aegis Group was basically the super technologically advanced race of beings, right? They've never been seen in canon. In beta canon, they're described as having tentacles that's furry, basically. All right. Now, basically, what they do is they say, hey, listen, we're going to send agents, or we're going to recruit people. We're going to send these people, agents, okay? They later became known as supervisors in the Picard series, right? But we're going to send these people around, and we're going to help young races develop. We're gonna help them do their thing. We're gonna stop them from destroying themselves. That's what we're going to do. Now, it's put in the canon that Wesley Crusher is basically a part of the Aegis group, and the Travelers is part of the Aegis group. But here's the thing: why I don't see that as being the case, even though it is part of canon, because the Travelers use thought for time travel and speed and all that kind of stuff for reality manipulation. Supervisors and people who work for the Aegis group use technology. They super advanced technological beings. Now, we go back to Crewman Daniels. Why do I believe that Crewman Daniels was actually part of the Aegis group instead of a temporal agent? Right now, here's the thing, okay? Daniels can't just be running around telling people that he's part of a futuristic, unknown organization called the Aegis Group. When he got busted by Archer, right? He said, okay, I do know that temporal agents exist. If I'm going to dilute the timeline, if I'm going to, mess it up, then let's pick a group that's actually something that Starfleet will go into. Let's talk a little bit about more into that. But first of all, please understand that this is information drawn as speculation from Alpha and Beta canon. All right, it states nowhere in canon that Crewman Daniels is actually part of the Aegis group. All signs lead to believe that Daniels is actually a temporal agent. But that got me thinking that Daniels was actually part of the Aegis group was this right here, that he's actually Dr. Kovich from the future Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, that dude is Crewman Daniels. Can you believe that now? Why is that significant? Why is that significant? Because Dr. Kovich is also part of Section 31. So think about it. Crewman Daniels, who ends up becoming Dr. Kovich, right, has infiltrated Starfleet in the past during the beginning formations of Starfleet, fought in the temporal wars and trying to uphold the temporal accords, right, trying to be part of the temporal intervention commission, right, and he's been Dr. Kovich in the future section 31. All right, now all of these groups are formative in the Federation and humanity as a whole, all throughout time. All right. And here's the thing about Kovich is, if you notice in the series, Kovich is the only person whose orders can supersede even Admiral Vance's, right? That's very important. He's lived several lifetimes and several timelines, all dedicated to basically leading humanity, not stopping temporal incursions. He kind of did that as a side note, but his whole mission was to embed itself in different time periods and lead humanity. That is an ages group function. Temporal agents normally in canon respond to specific time incursions and then they go on about their business. They normally don't interact with people because that is a pure violation of the temporal accords. However, Gary 7, people like supervisors, they embed themselves, remember, because their mission is to guide civilizations. So what was it, Crewman Daniels he embedded all through time, the time period for centuries, right? He didn't just come in for an incursion for, say, the temporal wars or something like that to help Archer and then leave. You never seen Crewman Daniels again. Or he didn't just come in and do this and, leave. No. He came in, he embedded. He actually did things to guide humanity and the Federation. Now, I'm pretty sure later on in canon, they might start to link the Aegis Group and a temporal agency or the temporal intervention commission together, and it should be interesting in being that we're 800 years in the future where these events actually took place. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they put it in canon. Hanging out, watching the entire video and going through why I think personally that Crewman Daniels was part of the Aegis Group and not the Temporal Commission Intervention Agency. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think.